Okay, good morning, kids, good morning, and welcome to Dunkin' Dough Heaven. I know, my Dunkin' Dough commercials are getting better and better and better, and I know that's why you're here. Anyway, this is Algebra 2 Common Core Practice Test number 2. Listen, kids, these are Miss Newman and my best attempt to get you guys some good review before. All we did was take some old Regents exams, copy over some of those questions that are still pertaining to the current curriculum, add in some new problems for the new curriculum based on what we've already currently seen, because we're not exactly sure what we're going to do, and some best guesses, and we tried to come up with some problems that we think maybe not be on the Regents exam. Since there's only 3 Regents exams, it's kind of hard to practice. Anyway, all of these exams can be found at our website at nkinfinity.com. It's really easy. Just hit nkinfinity.com, go here to New York State Teachers, and click on Review. Practice Test 1 is already done. The links are already live. Now we're doing Practice Test 2. These links should be live soon. Also on here, you'll find out that I've got a whole bunch of spiral reviews. All of these questions, there's 28 documents. Each one of them contains about 7 to 9 questions. So there's another few hundred examples, or 200 or 300 examples of problems that you could do. The answer, it's a blank document. You could try it, and the answer key, some video solutions. I'm trying to get these videos done as much as possible, and we are going to be posting some topical reviews, trig, logs, stats, all kinds of probability, all kinds of topical reviews. Hopefully those are coming soon. There's only enough hours in the day, and so that's it. Let's get started on today's stuff. I got so much stuff open right now. Here we go. Let's get this open. So problem number 1 is, what is 510 degrees in radians? Well, you do have a formula on your formula sheet for radians. We used to have kids memorize this. Now there's a formula here. 1 radian equals this, but we want this one, right? 1 degree equals pi over 2. So converting from degrees to radians. So we just need to multiply by pi over 180. So we'll go over here, back to practice test 2. We'll take 510 degrees. And we're going to multiply it by pi over 180. And so really that's just 51 over 18. What's that, 27? Well, what you end up with is 510. We'll snooze that. I don't know why they did that. Divided by 180. These can go. Let's see, 9 doesn't go into, 3 goes into both those. 3 goes in there, 27, 3 goes in there, 17 over 6. 17 pi over 6. Now, you can always go to your calculator. Oops, I don't know what happened there. You go to your calculator and just type 510 divided by 180. Probably, 510 divided by 180. I don't know, I might come up with a decimal. Nope, 17 over 6. Oops, what happened to my stuff here? We come back. 17 over 6 pi. Moving on. So 4 studies are survey least biased. We're looking for the least biased problem in this one. By the way, if you haven't done these problems on your own, you really, really need to go do these problems on your own. Back here on NK Infinity, it's this document. Just click on the blank document. You can download it, print it, or you can just do the problems, at least have it on and do the problems on your own and then come watch the video. Check the answer key out. See how you did. But don't just sit here and watch me work. Watching me work is, first of all, really boring. Second of all, it's really boring. Third of all, you're not going to learn anything. Okay, so least bias. Least bias. We're looking for things where they didn't pick out a specific group of people or a specific time of day, or just ask you could do a convenience survey. We just ask the most convenient people around you. Now, so 100 randomly chosen heart surgeons. No. When you single out a single group, no. A country and western radio station asked 100 of its listeners to call a telephone number and answer a question about rap music. That would be interesting, but that has a lot of bias. From calls made to 100 randomly, looking for that baby right there, randomly generated telephone numbers, people replied to a question about television shows they watch. Okay, that one looks like it doesn't have a lot of bias. The first 100 people who left the World Series baseball bookstore, World of Baseball bookstore, replied to a question about the importance of baseball in society. Yeah, that's got a lot of bias. So there's our answer, kids, right there. No bias. That should have been an easy one. When factored completely. So let's take this sucker over here, x to the fourth. Everybody kind of freaks out when they got an x to the fourth going on. It's really not a big problem here. You got x squared and x squared. Now, because this is a plus and this is a minus, this plus tells me that they're going to be the same sign. This tells me they're going to both be negative. Multiply to 36, add up to 13, that would be 9 and 4. But each of those is the difference of two squares, so we can factor those again. So x plus 3, x minus 3, x plus 2, x minus 2. And you got to be careful. Don't do all that good work and pick the wrong choice. We want this one. Choice 4. Okay, which ordered pair is the solution of the following system? I think if you took all of these points and put them in the second one, I think they all work. But I'm going to show you the math way to do it. Since this is y right here, this is what y is equal to, right? It's equal to y. But I can also plug it right in there for that thing. So I'm going to show you the math way to do this one. X squared minus 4 times x minus 4 squared equals 16. So I got to double distribute that out. Let me do that right here. It's x minus 4, x minus 4. And I get x squared minus 8x plus 16. And then I got to multiply by, well, let's just write it down. X squared minus 4, x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 16. Let's distribute. Now, you got to be careful. We're going to distribute a negative 4. So we get x squared minus 4x squared plus 32x minus 64 equals 16. Now, because this is really minus 3x squared, that means everything has to go to that side. So if I do that, I'm going to end up with 0 equals 3x squared. Bring the 32x over, it becomes minus 32x. And then you bring this over, you get 80 plus 80. Wow, that looks like a pain in the neck to factor. I think we did this the hard way, but this is the right way, I think. So, oh, I know what was bugging me. Let's see. 4 and 20. I got to get close to 32, so 4 and 20. Let's try 4, maybe 20. Let's see, that's 12, and that's 20. That's what I thought. Okay, so we got 12 and 20. There we go. So this they both have to be the same size, so they're both minus and minus. So this one gives me x equals 20 over 3 as one of my answers, and this is x equals 4 as one of my answers. So it looks like x equals 4 is one of my answers. Now, had you didn't want to go through all this crazy amount of work, which actually, quite honestly, is just a pain in the neck, all you could have done is plug 4 in. If you plug 4 in, you get 0 out. And if I plug 4 in there, I get 4 squared minus 4y squared equals 16. This is really 16, so I subtract 16. And I get negative 4y squared is equal to 0. Divide by 4, negative 4, I get y squared is equal to 0. So that's that answer. That's probably the easier way to do it. I like to do things the hard way sometimes. All right, new topic for the new Common Core curriculum. So suppose A and B events are a sample space with probability of A equals that, probability of B equals that, and that's the probability of B given A. Find this. Well, you were never told these were independent events, They're not mutually exclusive or disjoint. So, well, okay, so we got some work to do. So you got two formulas for probability of A and B if they are not independent. Now, what I want you to think about is that you're going to write the independent test. The independent test is that the probability of A times the probability of B. If that's true, if the probability of A times the probability of B equals this would be independent. Since we don't know, you got to add the given part, B given A. Or it could be this one, probability of A and B is equal to the probability of B times the probability of A. Again, there's the test for independence. That's independent. We don't have independent, so we need to keep going, and we need to add on this little extra piece here, given B. So again, this first part's the test for independence. We don't have it, so we had to add on this last part. All right, so now I'm going to go through and mark off all the stuff I know. I know B given A. That should be an A. I know this one. I know B given A. I know the probability of A. And I know the probability of B. Well, I have these two things right here. So that's the equation I want to use. So I don't really need this equation. But you do need to know that exists. So the answer really is simply knowing, first of all, that you had to use this equation, knowing what to multiply, and then we're just going to take probability of A, which is 0.8, and we're going to multiply it by the probability of B given A, which is 0.5. Well, that's 0.40. Choice 2. All right, moving on. Alex scored on her test an 88. So Alex's X is 88. The class average was 79.3. So that's the population of the class average. And the standard deviation was 7.5. What is her Z-score? So Z-score formula is simply Z equals X minus mu over standard deviation. Now, one of these answers should be negative, quite frankly, just in case you put this in backwards. But her score is better than the average, so it should be a positive Z-score. So I would have been able to eliminate negatives right away. So we just take 80, and we subtract off, it's 88. 88, we subtract off 79.3, and we divide by 7.5. And I'm not sure at all what that is, so we're going to go over to the calculator. 88 minus 79.3, enter, divided by, not times, but divided by, was it 7.5? 7.5, I get a Z-score of 1.16. There she is, kids, 1.16. So quite frankly, I would type in this problem into my calculator, type in the three answers, see which one matches, and be happy that they gave me such a ridiculously easy question. Okay, there has to be easy questions, I guess, like this on the test, so that when you get to the hard ones, you're like, well, at least I know I got those easy ones right. But I'm not like that. I want to show you how to do this properly. So what we want to do is we want to take both of these and change these down to bases that are the same. Usually it'll be bases of 2, 3, or 5. Once in a while you'll see 7. Not very often. So I want to change them. So 9 is really 3 squared to the 3/2 power. Times 27 is really 3 cubed to the 1/2 power. All right, so what do you do when you have an exponent raised to an exponent? You multiply the exponents. So this becomes 3 cubed times 3 to the 3/2 power. Because when I just multiply, I get 3/2. Now, what do I do when I have two things that have the bases that are the same, and I just have to take their, what do I have to do their exponents? I got to add them. So 3 plus 3/2. Well, 3 is really, I could have left this as 6 over 2. Maybe that would have been maybe even easier, right? Multiply this. I could have gotten 6 over 2, which is just 3. So 6 over 2 plus 3 over 2 is 3 to the 9 over 2. And had you put that in your calculator, you would see that that is, in fact, the appropriate answer. All right, so this is just a test on whether or not you know that arc cosine is the same as cosine inverse of something. So really what this thing is, and this arctan is really tan inverse of this thing. So 1. So let's see, what are we doing here? Well, the angle, another way to read this is the angle whose cosine is 1/2. And I can just put that in my calculator if I want to, or I can just know, getting all kinds of errors, or I can just know that the answer is 60 degrees. Why am I in this one? So I could just do, sorry, it doesn't like when I do this. Cosine inverse of 1/2, and it'll tell me, oh, I'm in freaking radian mode, now I gotta go back to degree mode. Document setting, let's go to degree mode, make default, click OK, click the up arrow, and it'll tell me 60 degrees. There it is, 60 degrees. 60 degrees is 1.047 radians, just in case you were wondering. And I can do the same thing with tangent. It's just going to tell me it's 45. Tan inverse of 1 is 45 degrees. So really what I have here is 60 over 45. 15 goes into both. 4/3 is my answer. Could reduce that, and that reduces to 4/3. Kind of a dumb question. Don't like the way these answers are written because it's written in weird mode. So which summation will not produce this? So when you do these E values, you know, and you got B equals 2 to 12, you got to know that this is the start value and this is my end value. So on this first one, and I'm doing just B, so I'm plugging in 2, then plugging in 3, then plugging in 4, then plugging in 5, then plugging in 6, and plugging all the way up to 12. So that would be 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Actually, that's your right answer. All right, so that's the right answer because that's the one that will not. Yes, of course, New York State likes the nots. Now, why do the other ones work? Well, the other ones work because, notice this is 2A. Probably should be in parentheses. So if you plug in 1, you get 2. If you plug in 2, you get 4. If you plug in 3, you get 6. All the way up to 6. And when you plug in 6, you get 12. So that'll give you this one. So that one works. Again, in this one, I plug in 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. If I plug in 3, 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 2 is 4. And plug in the last one. Check a first couple and then check the last one. Plug in 7. 2 times 7 is 14. 14 minus 2 is 12. So that would work as well. And plug in 0 to 5. 0. Oh, so this one, I bet, is a lot of kids chose this one. So let me see why this one works. First of all, the sum of this is what, 14, 14, and 14. So this is 42. You can add it up. It's 42. And so if I do this one, this is a tricky one. I'm going to plug in these. I plug in 0, I get 1. I plug in 2, I get, if I plug in 1, I get 2. If I plug in 2, I get 3, plus 4, plus 5. And when I plug in 5, I get 6, so plus 6. Now if I add all this up, 7, 7, and 7, this is all adds up to 21. 21 times 2 is 42. Wow. Wow. Okay. The answer is 1, but that one, you might have picked that one because it looked a little funky. All right, let's work. Again, if you want to, you could simply just make up a number for M, take 3.8, stow it into M, take 5.2. Now I'm just making up these numbers, stow it into K, type this in, type in your 4 answers, see which one matches. But I don't like that, so we're not going to do it that way. That's a way if on the test day you want to check to make sure you got it right, absolutely go ahead, but it's a time-consuming pain in the neck. This is going to be 1/3 times 3 is 1, so this is going to be M square roots of 18 minus, and then 1/3 times K would be 1/3 K. Oh, this should be not 18. Sorry, this should be 12. 6 times 2 is clearly 12. Square roots of 18. I was wondering why I was ending up with the same square root of 18. That should be the square root of 12. Now, you're not going to find that because the square root of 12 can be simplified. So you get m square roots of 4 times 3. That's 2. So this becomes 2m square roots of 3. How many of those are there? And this is the square root of 9 times 2. Square root of 9 is 3. So 3 times 1/3 is just 1. So this becomes k square roots of 2. And there's your answer. All right, here we got 2 questions left. This one's similar to what we asked on the first one, but it's kind of important that we ask this one. I think I actually screwed up the answer to the first one, so if you watch the video, you see me jumping a little bit because I had to correct that. I don't know what I was thinking. So anyway, this is a yearly interest rate or yearly percent increase. And we want to continue. X is the number of months, and we want to know the amount of monthly percent increase. So because it's monthly percent increase, we can't do just 1 plus 0.0345 because to the x. Because that would be for a yearly. We start with our principal amount here, and this would be our yearly percent increase. But instead, we have to take our interest rate and divide it by 12. Now, quite honestly, dividing by 12, if I wanted to do it by year, I would have to whatever. So this is my right answer because x is in the number of months. So the only thing I don't like about this answer is I think if you divide this, you don't get 2.8, you get 2.9. So I think 0.0345 divided by 12 is, this should be 0.0028, should be 2.9, not 2.8. But anyway, this is the right answer, choice 3. All right, finally, which relation is not a function? Not a function. Well, let me just tell you, you could go, the best way to do this is to go over to your graphing calculator and graph these. This last one's going to be a pain, quite honestly, to graph. So the first one, let's go into graph mode. The first one is you got to solve for y, so you get 4 over x. So 4 divided by x, that passes the vertical line test. So that is, in fact, a function. Log 4 of x. You should know this is a function. Control log 4 of x. Oops. Of x. There it is. That is definitely a function. For sine x, okay, for sine x is just going to be a sine curve. You're kind of tired of doing this. It's just going to be a sine curve. And then this is the one that's not a function, okay? I think this is a hyperbola or an ellipse. It's a hyperbola, I think. But it doesn't really matter. It's a weird function. Anytime you have a y squared, we're going to have multiple different values of x are going to give us multiple values of y. We got all kinds of problems. So there you go. That's the one that's not a function. If you just graph the other 3, you'd realize they are functions. And that's the one that's kind of weird that we really ever addressed this year. So that is the one that's not a function. All right, kids, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Don't hit the dislike button. I don't know why anybody would do that. And keep studying, keep working hard. All right, test is right around the corner.